Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Rustabout Collector here. Today we are taking a look at a bit of an oddity here, a Star Wars Black Series Clone Trooper, the 6-inch Black Series line. This time a Walgreens exclusive, and it is the 212th Battalion Clone Trooper from the Clone Wars. You know, the good old Commander Cody Orange Clone Trooper Legion. For some strange reason, it was decided that an army builder ought to be an exclusive at a drugstore, and I will never understand that, but here we are. We have it in hand finally. I did not find this locally. JediBricks over on TikTok and Instagram helped me out and was kind enough to pick it up for me and send it my way, so thanks to him, we are able to do this review. So as I mentioned, this is a Walgreens exclusive. You'll only be able to find it in store. They really haven't had it online. Maybe that will change, but it doesn't seem likely. And already we have another Walgreens exclusive Clone Trooper slated for, I think, 2023, so you know, I guess we just got to get used to Clone Troopers being released at Walgreens. Additionally, this figure retails for $24.99. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that price increase. I think a lot of people are limiting what they're picking up because for a Black Series figure, that does not feel quite adequate for what you're getting, especially when there's only one blaster. You're just getting the blaster and the figure for that price point. You know, for like a G.I. Joe or maybe even a Marvel Legends, you're usually getting a couple more accessories, usually a Build-A-Figure part or something like that. For this, it just doesn't feel like it's there for me. It's definitely influencing me in cutting back on certain figures and really being selective with what I pick up, especially from the Black Series line. But your mileage may vary, so I just wanted to point that out. You know, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but for me, it's starting to get a little bit steep. This packaging comes in the standard Black Series style that we've come to be used to recently. It is marked in the yellow for Star Wars The Clone Wars. I really do like how they're doing that whole color coding system with these packages. On the side here, we have a really nice mural piece of the Clone Trooper next to who I believe is Aurra Sing. I could be wrong. I don't collect Black Series completionist style, so I don't have the boxes to stack up next to it here, but I believe that's Aurra Sing. Interesting to note that this is a very realistically rendered 212th Clone Trooper, yet they've left off the brow line there, which is a very animated style of thing to do. There's a whole argument there to be had about whether Black Series should stick to realistic or animated. Personally, I would like to see them just do a devoted 3 3/4 inch animated line and just stick to that. But yeah, we're kind of getting mishmash here in the Black Series. Spinning it around here to the back, there is a little bio there. If you want to read that, you are free to do so. But apart from that, there isn't really much to say. It is your standard Black Series packaging, your standard Black Series picture window, and your standard Black Series figure tucked away inside. So I think we should break this open and take a look at the figure free from its plastic prison. Alright, so having this figure out of the package, I gotta say I'm a little bit more impressed with it than I expected to be. There's nothing new here. The figure is the same mold that we've been getting since the Kamino Clone Trooper. There's no parts mixing and matching like we got with the Jet Trooper or the Trooper from the Bad Batch, but it is still a Clone Trooper, and honestly, it's pretty sleek. With all the orange paint apps and everything, it's pretty cool. Now, I'm sure that some may be disappointed that this is an animated style versus a realistic style, and I think that that is totally valid. We have been getting kind of a weird conglomeration of the two recently, and it would be nice if they stuck to one or the other for the sake of consistency across the collection. However, as a Clone Trooper fan, this is just a cool representation of the 212th. Now, if somebody maybe wanted this to be more realistic in their collection, all they'd really have to do would be to paint the brow line black as it should be in the realistic style. It wouldn't make it perfect nor perfectly realistic, but it would go a long ways in just bringing it more into the realistic realm. So again, this isn't the perfect Clone Trooper, but it is still a cool Clone Trooper. As this is a mold that we've already seen multiple times before, I will try to breeze through everything fairly quickly, going over articulation and all of that, since by now we are pretty well familiar with it. He does include the standard DC-15 mold that we've been getting recently. It is slightly smaller than the old version, but still the figures hold it very nicely. There's no gripes with that. They can look down line of sights, they can do all the things that they should be able to do with a blaster. But again, I really would have liked to have seen an additional DC-15 long rifle just to kind of make up a little bit more of that $25 price point. As with all previous versions of this figure, you have the glued in head underneath that helmet. Once again, I really just wish that they gave us removable helmets with painted heads underneath, or at least blank heads, so that you could at least reposition the helmet if it came in a little bit wonky, though I will say they've been very good about fixing those early quality control issues with the squishier helmet. Even so, just a painted head would go a long ways in making up that price point, especially knowing that right underneath this helmet is a perfectly sculpted Temuera Morrison head, and we could just have that face printed and it would look amazing. Now, as for articulation, you have the double ball jointed neck, so there's a ball joint down here in the torso, another up here in the head. That allows you to get some really good side to side tilt as well as forward and back. It's nothing crazy, but it's definitely better than the original neck joint that they gave us with the Clone Trooper mold, the old one. Moving down to the shoulders, you have a butterfly at the shoulder that allows you that forward and backwards rotation, as well as a hinge and swivel, allowing you to hinge it up to 90. That shoulder pad can go over top of the torso just like that, and then you can swivel it all the way around there. Single jointed elbow, allowing you to crunch into 90, swivel side to side. You don't really want to go all the way around just in case you damage that soft elbow pad there. And then hinge and swivel at the wrist all the way around, in and out here on the left hand, and up and down on the right hand, just like I like it. There's also a molded trigger finger there, which is really nice, allowing you to hold that blaster just a little bit more tightly in the action figure's hand. Down to the torso, you have a ball joint that allows you to get a really good side-to-side tilt, as well as a really decent forward and back tilt. Nothing crazy, but still very, very nice to see. And then you have the ball joint and thigh swivel at the hips, allowing you to go forward to there, pivot that armor out to there, and then you can use the single jointed knee to get it into a really nice kneeling position, and that is what I absolutely love about this new Clone Trooper mold. The single jointed knees allowing you to pivot all the way down to here into that kneeling position really, really is a game changer for dynamic posing, toy photography, just a whole bunch of things, and I really do hope that they keep these leg designs around for a long time. Now, of course, that knee pad is attached to the thigh, so it does pivot off to a weird angle, but it is fairly easy to get a blade behind there, slice it off, and then it will set here in front of the knee, and then you just got to take a little bit of black paint over where you sliced it off, and it looks perfect. I know at one point when I got the Kamino Trooper in for the first time, I actually did a full tutorial on how to paint the brow, cut off the elbow pads and knee pads and make them free floating and all of that. I just never got around to uploading it, and I don't even know if I still have the footage, honestly. And then finally down to the foot, you have a hinge that goes forward to there. It points all the way to there, which is really nice, and then it has a forward-facing rocker giving you that nice side-to-side rocker that we really like to see for more dynamic poses. Once again, just giving them a little bit extra stability. Now, in terms of detail and paint apps for this figure, again, they're not the best, but they are pretty good. They have the right markings in the right places, the triangle here, the triangles underneath the arms there, the wraps here and around the thighs, and so on and so forth. They have the markings for a correct 212th Clone Trooper. The only thing I could see that is truly animated about this print pattern is that the triangle here on the helmet stops halfway and doesn't go all the way to the back of the helmet. That is exclusively something that the animated design did, probably just to save time for the animators. So again, this is definitely an animated inspired 212th Clone Trooper. It's a little confusing, it's a little bit odd, but it works. You know, it works for people that maybe don't want to spend the crazy money on the older mold at 212th. Even though this is hard to find, it's still cheaper to pay the scalper prices for this clone than it is to buy the old Order 66 pack. And really, there is some nice detail here. I really like the silver that they've done here on the nozzles as well as on the frown. It's nice detail work. It looks very shiny and cool. And it's also printed very crisply, like it's not overrunning anywhere or in the wrong positioning. So I mean, overall, there isn't a lot that I could say that's bad about this figure per se, but there's a lot that could be better. I think that's the best way to talk about these kind of weird animation conglomeration clone troopers. They're cool because they're clone troopers. They have good markings. The paint apps are nice and crisp, but they're just kind of odd. And so I can't give it like a 10 out of 10, but I could give it something like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Maybe on a good day an 8, but I think that 7 is probably the most accurate rating if we're doing a 1 out of 10. I don't normally do ratings on the channel, but with a clone like this, it's hard to really put into words how it's good and bad at the same time in my mind. So will I get more of these? Probably not. I don't really collect Black Series clones all that much. I do with some, like I definitely have quite a few of those 13th Battalion clones from Fallen Order on pre-order, but with other legions, I'm content with 1 or 2, and if I found one of these in the wild, I would definitely pick it up, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get another. I'm content with this one. It's nice to have it in the collection, but this isn't a legion or really a paint scheme that I'm concerned with getting more of, just because it is that kind of odd animated mix and match. But I'm very happy to have it in the collection. I'm really glad I was able to review it because I was kind of worried that I would just never see this figure. Now, I actually forgot that I had this figure in my Black Series collection, but I do have one of the older figures. He is just weathered with a paint wash, so he's not going to be quite as crisp and clean as he was fresh out of the package. Same goes for my Commander Cody here. This is the original, not the archive version. But I would say all lined up together, they work fairly well together. Obviously, this orange is a little bit more yellow orange, and this one is a little bit more burnt orange. However, they do mesh fairly well together, and if you have them weathered like I do, a paint wash and some scuffing up would go a long way in making this clone mesh really well with that clone that just fell over. But, you know, they could work together on a shelf with some weathering, or maybe if this was the standard version out of the packaging, I could tell you a little bit better if they would just work well without any customization or modification. But overall, it works. Is it perfect? Is it really clean and crisp and just blends in perfectly? Definitely not, but if you're not too concerned with perfect matching, I'd say it's a cool addition to the 212th Legion. Now, as I wrap things up, I will also say if you can't find one of these locally, there are some AliExpress bootlegs of this figure that I would say are probably just as good. I haven't bought one myself, but I do own a couple of the other AliExpress bootleg Black Series figures in this new mold. And while the quality isn't quite the same, I would say it's pretty close or close enough to where if you wanted one of these but couldn't afford or couldn't find it from Walgreens, the bootleg one might do just as well, as long as you're okay with waiting a while for it to arrive from China. But yeah, I mean, there you go. You have your options for getting it, and maybe you don't even want to get it after this review. Maybe you see this lineup and just think it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. That's possible, and that's totally fine. But that is where we're going to wrap this review up. So as always, there's a link down in the description. If you want to follow me over on Instagram or use my affiliate link with Entertainment Earth and order any toys through there, that helps out the channel just a tiny bit, and I do appreciate that. But as always, thank you all so much for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all that wonderful stuff. I appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video, and I will be sure to catch you all in the next video.